Good morning from Seoul. For those joining us online from abroad, good afternoon and good evening. Welcome, everybody. My name is Ronny Estrella. It is an honor for me to be today the moderator of the morning session. On behalf of the organization committee, we are pleased to invite you all to participate in the 2022 Green Smart Development and Vision Conference GSDV under the theme of Sustainable Development through Digital Transformation. These events are co-sponsored by the Ministry of Science and ICT, KAIST Global IT Technology Program ITTP at the Graduate School of Digital Innovation, and Seoul National University International Technology Program ITPP at the Global R&D Center. In the light that international collaboration to advance the world through a global prosperity through advanced technologies, GSDV 2022 aims to call for inspirational ideas on brilliant technologies, innovator solutions, creative policies, enlightening stories, and heartful encouragement for the whole global community to present a way of global transformation. Now, I would like to invite to the stage Professor Yeonbae Kim, Director of the International Energy Policy Program, IEPP at the Seoul National University. Please, let's welcome him with a big round of applause.
안녕하세요. Hello everyone. 반갑습니다. Hello. I think my remark should be short. Hello. Above all, congratulations on the successful opening of GSDV 2022. Especially today, there will be several presentations by students of Seoul SNU ITPP and KAIST ITTP today. Seoul National University IEPP, which I am in charge of as a director, has the same mission as the above two programs. I hope today's conference will serve as the basis for establishing an international cooperation network for digital transformation centered on Korea. I would like to thank you everyone who is preparing for today's conference. Finally, I also hope that the mutual cooperation of the three programs will be enhanced in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for your insights. Now, let's start our first session. The topic for this session is Green and Smart Innovation for Sustainable Transformation. I would like to remind our speakers that each of you have 15 minutes for your presentation. Please keep your time. Let's invite our first presenter, Mr. Carlos Andrés Saavedra Arancibia, Professor of the Escuela Superior Politécnica del Litoral in Ecuador, currently a Ph.D. candidate at KAIST, with his topic, Impact of Digital Transformation on the Resources Decision of Manufacturing Firms. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Carlos Saavedra. I'm Ecuadorian. I'm a PhD student at KAIST. And my research topic is the digital transformation in a manufacturing firm, and the reshoring decision. Is my honor to be here and share with you my ongoing research project. Let's start. Okay. Let me share with you my table of content. I will introduce two problems and at the end, my conclusions. Then, manufacturing firms' competitive strategy, a shift. Firms are continuously looking for strategies to reach competitive advantages that allow them to be more profitable than competitors. Manufacturing firms are required to be more flexible and agile to respond to the customer requirements. And in order to reach this goal, manufacturing firms are embracing the digital transformation empowered by Industry 4.0 technologies, which we can tell it was born in Davos, Switzerland in 2016. And the market imposes the digital transformation as a necessary new stage to, for the firms to become and even remain competitive in the market. We can tell the digital transformation is not only the use of Industry 4.0 technologies, but also it involves adopting agility, customer orientation, and product individualization as core competences to reshape the business model of a firm. So please, let's take a look in this figure. In the left side, you will see the largest companies by market capitalization in 1979. In the right side, you will see all these companies have been replaced by new companies, most of them born digital firms, like Facebook, Tesla, Google, Amazon. So what these companies, these born digital companies are doing or have been doing to reach this level? Well, we can say they are they have been adopting innovative digital business models that allow them to reach a new level of intimacy with customers. The digital transformation provides a framework to include customer intimacy in the business model of a firm. Then, the literature also reports that older firms are struggling at carrying out the digital transformation. These old firms, also called incumbents firms, are failing at reaching the new level of intimacy for several reasons, like internal and external reasons. Then, what these incumbent manufacturer firms in the consumer goods sector are doing to reach this new level of intimacy? Before to start listing what these companies are doing, let me introduce with you a failure case, a very famous one, just to recall that digital transformation is not only adopting Industry 4.0 technologies, but also it implies a reshape of the business model. So in 2017, Adidas backshot a factory. They moved a factory from Vietnam to Germany. Why? They had two reasons. First one, the rising of manual labor in countries like China, Indonesia, and Vietnam, where they had their factories. So for you to have an idea, a typical Adidas factory in Asia needs around 1,000 employees. But the new factory in Germany only needs 160 employees, basically because they use a lot of robots, what is called smart factories. The other reason is shortening the supply chain. For you to have an idea, from the first sketch of a completely new pair of running shoes to the shop shelf, it can take us up to 18 months, because we gotta keep in mind the production comes from Asia, and the biggest market for Adidas is the United States and Germany as well. So what happened? What was the problem with Adidas in this failure case? Adidas Speed Factory is the name of this factory. The name was that the problem was that the robots were incapable to produce the most popular shoe models, which are the Superstar and Stan Smith, the one you can see in the figure 4B and C. But this robot, they had the capability to produce running shoes, the one you can see in the figure 4A. So what happened? In 2020, Adidas closed this Speed Factory. Why? Well, a key challenge Adidas faced was a limitation to the number of shoe models that the factory was able to produce. We can tell Adidas was incapable to fulfill the market demand. Therefore, they were far from reaching the new level of intimacy with customers. So now I will start listing what these companies are doing, what manufacturers in the consumer goods sector are doing to fulfill the consumer demand and to reach that new level of intimacy. First, they are shortening the supply chain. How? Well, one strategy is using a direct-to-customer strategy. In the figure, you can see a traditional supply chain. We have the manufacturer, wholesaler, distributor, retailer, and consumer. What these companies are doing is skipping it, skipping the man in the middle. How? Using their own channels, digital channels. As you can see in the figure number 5, we have an example of what Nike is doing. Using their, they launch their own application, so customers, they can directly buy the products from the manufacturer. So what are the advantages of this strategy? First, the manufacturers can learn the consumer behavior of the client. By learning, they can suggest and create new products and services. Also, they are increasing their sales. What else these companies are doing? Well, they are running servitization, leveraging on platforms and Industry 4.0 technology. What does it mean, servitization? Servitization is the process of increasing value but adding services to a firm's offering, which is they have the product they always have been doing, but also they bundle the product with a service. That is called servitization. So let's take a look on some examples for servitization. Once again, the Nike application. They have one application called Nike Training Club. And this application provides a service or some services as personalized workout and nutrition recommendation. We have another company called Geely. This is a Chinese private car manufacturer, and they provide chauffeur service using their electrical vehicles, and also they provide services like a vehicle sharing and renting service. This is called product as a service. They are not selling the product, but they are leasing it. People can hire. This is product as a service. Another interesting product or company is Michelin. Michelin is the tire company. Yes, they are renting tires. Believe it or not. This is product as a service. What else? What these companies are doing? Building community, doing consultation, and having interaction with customers. So they reach, all of this is to reach the new level of intimacy with customers. Once again, Geely, the Chinese car manufacturer, they have an online community to answer the requests of customers, to introduce new models, to offer opportunities for trial tests of new cars, and to provide insurance and some other services. We have the case of Nestle. Through their digital nutritional platform, they give a score to the meal, to the ingest of their customers. And at the end, they can provide a recommendation, what is the best ingest for the customer. So summarizing what these manufacturers are doing to reach the new level of intimacy, we can say they are doing shortening the supply chain using direct-to-customer strategies, servitization and platform and product as a service, building community, consultation, and interaction with customer. And this take me, what for? To reach the new level of intimacy, which take me to my problem definition number 1. There is a lack of framework to reach a higher level of intimacy with the customer. Most of incumbent organizations lack a strategic plan that guide them on how to reach that new level of intimacy. Without the support of this guideline, incumbent manufacturers in the consumer goods sector might struggle to remain competitive in the market. They might disappear. The literature doesn't provide a managerial framework for incumbent manufacturers to reach that new level of intimacy with the customers. And this is my conceptual framework. We can see in the left side, incumbent manufacturers, how they want to reach that new level of intimacy, and there is no framework how to reach that point and the levels that are in between, and how to cross from one level to another. And this would be my contribution, this framework. Please do allow me to go back to Adidas' failure case. Customization of both products and services is just a part of the intimacy, but it is not everything. time matters and the delivering time matters. So for Adidas, the first sketch of a running shoes to take them to the shops, it might take up to 18 months. So, and a replenish order might take 2 to 3 months. Let's recall that these Adidas, they have the factories in China, Indonesia, and Vietnam. So it takes time to bring all the production. So one of the strengths of this Adidas Speed Factory was to shorten the time to shops to less than a week. 18 months to less than a week. But how it was possible? Well, because this reduction was possible thanks to both automation, smart factory, robots, 3D printing, and reshoring. Reshoring means the relocation of products or production sites. They move their factories from China, Indonesia to Germany to be closer to the customer. And it takes me to my problem definition number 2, the best timing for reshoring and automation. Reaching the highest level of intimacy doesn't only imply production customization, but also product delivery in the shortest time possible. On awareness of this fact might lead manufacturers to a failure on reaching the new level of intimacy. Moreover, wrong timer to trigger the reshoring and automation decision might lead to both losses of market share and additional production costs, and even the company might disappear if they don't fulfill the needs of the market. This takes me to my conceptual framework, the second one. I'm using the same in the first stage. So I have the different levels, and my contribution would be at which step, at which level it is the best timing for manufacturers to do reshoring and automation. So on in all, these are my contributions. A framework for decision makers to guide them so they can reach the new level of intimacy with customers. Second, since companies benefit from the geographical proximity to customer, which is called reshoring, manufacturing firms might tend to advocate for reshoring without considering the consumer need. This is what happened to Adidas. So, and it might lead to a failure case. My research contribute to an academic framework that indicates the best timing for reshoring. My research also contributes on the academic framework that indicates the best timing for automation. And finally, from a reshoring perspective, for policymakers in home countries, because they are highly interested in offshore companies to going back home, this framework might give them better insight about policies they can design in order to encourage offshore companies to go back home. And finally, the last one, in host countries, policymakers, the reshoring could lead to growth in the unemployment rate, deterioration of the social well-being, and stagnation in the industrial innovative capabilities. And this is really important. So policymakers in these host countries, they need to have an insight about what to do after this, or to get ready. Thank you so much. Gracias, muchas gracias. 여러분 너무 감사합니다.
Now, our next speaker, Ms. Endang Wiwiet, Corporate Planning at Central Transformation at Indonesia, a state-owned enterprise, Indonesian Persero. Currently a Ph.D. candidate at SNU with her topic, Reinforcement Modeling of Logistic Networks. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Okay, good morning. Good morning, distinguished attendees, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Endang with Kusumaningrum. I'm a PhD student at IEPP SNU, and it's my privilege to be here. And in today's GSDV event, I would like to express my sincere appreciations for the IEPP SNU, GRC, ITTP KAIST, and to all of you who come on today. And today I will present regarding the reinforcement modeling of the logistics network. And this is for the introductions. And here the reinforcement learning is a paradigm of machine learning, which learns what will to do, mapping the situation in determining the actions, and maximizing the number of rewards which can be obtained from the environment. And here the information which generated from the interaction with the environment is then used in order to update its knowledge. And here in RL, it wants to learn the optimal policy. Here the strategy for choosing the actions to maximize the rewards when interacting with the environment. And here the logic system may account for the facts that occasionally it gets overloaded by the others. And here it needs to configure and automatically determine the distribution routes, order capacity, and which vehicle on the hub should deliver to which PUC in order to enhance efficiency. And here these studies are conducted in order to determine the transportation route, order capacity, and which fleet on the hub should deliver to which PUC in order to maximize utilization and efficiency. And this is for the literature. And the RL is the machine learning field, which involves learning the actions which should be taken in the specific environment in order to optimize its rewards. And this figure shows the reinforcement learning. And here the reinforcement learning are consists of the agent, environment, state, possible actions, and the reward value. And here in the model, the agent is the decision maker, and the agent environment is everything which may influence its decisions. And for each action, the agent takes to the next step and may affect the environment, which offer the maximum reward. And this procedure is repeated to maximize the total value. And here the general objective is to simulate the immediate effect to activities in order to improve the long-term results. And here in RL, the state action value function key value is referred to the cumulative reward which obtained by the agents during the process of execution and actions in the current state and following the strategy until the end of the episodes. And here through continuous iterations, the state action value function will eventually converge, thereby obtaining the optimal strategy. And this figure shows the deep RL. And this figure shows that the state as the input and the output is the state action values for every actions in the state input. And here as the decisions in the logic sectors may involve the uncertainties, whereas it has to make the decisions in the changing environment. And here it may include on how one may allocate resources to unexpected conditions. And therefore it needs to establish the research regarding the logic uncertainties which may enhance efficiency and sustainability. And this is for the methodology. And the study using the Deepkin network, whereas the network takes the state as the input and predict the key value for every actions, and then take the actions which maximize the long-term rewards. And this process continues in the episode period until the agent reaches the terminal state. And here as the optimal state action values for the next step is to take the actions which maximize the expected value of maximum reward. And here the optimal policy corresponding to taking the best actions in any state in the environment. And this is the Deepkin network algorithm in this study. And this is for the results. And here in this study, the data we're using the data from the Indonesia State-Owned Enterprise, PT Pos Indonesia Persero. And in this study, the hub is the MPC, Mail Processing Center, and the spoke are consist of the main post office in Jakarta. In this study, as the nearest MPO, main post office to MPC get overloaded, and the reinforcement learning we learn to dynamically assign orders, and the MPC place the vehicle to MPO, main post office. And this model considers to selecting the outlet which should fulfill the shipment while minimizing the distance, cost, and time. And here the actions will tell the model which outlet should to select when the shipment order needs to be fulfilled. And here the RL may surface the best possible route and decisions more quickly. And here the reinforcement learning in this study are consist as follow. The state are consist of the node MPC, MPO West Jakarta, MPO East Jakarta, MPO North Jakarta, Seafreight Exchange Office Tanjung Priok, main post office South Jakarta, Airline Exchange Office Cengkareng, main post office Tangerang, main post office Bekasi, main post office Ciputat, main post office Depok, and main post office Bogor. And the action are consists of the vehicle are moving from MPC to MPO West Jakarta, from MPC to MPO West Jakarta, and the others. And here the policy are consist of the way to complete the task on the form route. And the reward are consist of the distance, cost, and time. And this is for the deep RL in this study. And this figure show the input are the environmental conditions, and the output is the sequence of the outlet to visits. And this is the considerations of the RL in this study. And this is for the distance. If the distance less than 60 kilometer, the reward is 1. And if the distance is more than 60 kilometer and less than 354, the reward is 0.6. And for the times, if the times is less than 54 minutes, the reward is 1. And if the times is more than 54 minutes and less than 808, the reward is 0.6. And for the cost is, if the cost is less than $18, the reward is 1. And if the cost is more than $18 and less than $182, the reward is 0.6. And for the load of the shipments, if the load less than 1,100 kilogram, the reward is 1. If the reward is more than 1,500 kilogram and less than 2,000 kilogram, the reward is 0.6. And for the utilizations, if the utilization of the vehicle is less than 25%, the reward is 0.2. And if the utilization of the vehicle more than 25% and less than 50%, the reward is 0.4. And if the utilization of the vehicle more than 50% and less than 75%, the reward is 0.6. And if the utilization is more than 75%, the reward is 1. And this figure shows the data in this study, which consists of the time, cost, and utilization. And this is the data normalization. And this is for the predicted network and the target network in this study. And based on this table, it can be seen that the maximum key value is on the A6, that is the IO Cengkareng, which provides the maximum key value. And here the vehicle moving from MPC to IO Cengkareng, Airline Exchange Office Cengkareng. And this is, here the process may continue to be carried out until it reaches the vehicle capacity. Then as the capacity of the vehicle is still available, update the deep key network as shown in the following table. And this is the updated data and the updated data normalization. And this is for the updated predicted network and the updated target network. And from this network, it can be seen that the maximum key value is on the action 6, that is MPC. And this, the vehicle are moving from MPC to IO Cengkareng and then return back to MPC. And this figure shows the reinforcement learning simulation systems in this study. And here it can be seen that when the main post office get overloaded, the reinforcement learning learns to dynamically assign orders and moves the vehicle from MPC to MPO. And this is the simulation system by using any logic. And here it displays on the GIS map. And here the vehicle are moving to main post office, loaded the shipment, and then return to MPC. And this is the reinforcement learning statistical chart in this study. And it consists of the order, which refer to the quantity loaded in transport, vehicle utilization, distance, time, and cost at each time in the system. And this figure shows the reinforcement learning simulation system, which conducted in Microsoft Azure Bonsai. And from this figure, it can be seen that each line represents the set of the reward value changes in reinforcement learning. And the upward converging trend determines that the agent is learning with the increasing iterations. And here at first, the agent has not yet reached converged conditions. This can be seen based on the movement of the reward, which is still fluctuating. Then it shows that there is the convergence with the rate of change of the reward getting better. And this shows that the reinforcement learning can be applied to logistics in order to increase efficiency. And here the RL may proactively prepare for unexpected thesis order and establish the better result through responding immediately to expected changes events. And therefore, this becomes the importance of RL in enhanced efficiency and sustainability. And this is for the conclusion. And for the conclusions, the RL may understand and respond to dynamic environment, and the decisions is important for the logistics distribution network. And the deep RL in this study conducted as the decision based on the observation it has made on the system. And here the result has accordance with the purpose of the study, whereas it determines where to carry the orders and may carry the orders from different points. As the shipment determination is important for the logistics automations, which significantly may affect the efficiency of logistics and its advancements. And in terms of the smart logistics, through digitalization and technology, this may increase innovation and encouraging the development on smart city. And furthermore, the RL is important in developing the intelligent transport and logistics systems, and therefore it may enhance efficiency, strategic decision-making, and sustainability. And this is for the references. And thank you very much for the attention, and it was an honor to be here. Thank you very much, and good morning.
Now, our next presenter, Mr. Nigus Jebretmin, Deputy Director General at the Ministry of Education, Federal Tibet Agency in Ethiopia, currently a PhD candidate at KAIST, with his topic, Understanding Continuous Intention to Use Mobile Banking Application in Developing Country, Construct Level and Technology Uncertainty. Let's welcome him with a big round of applause.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As Ronny has said my name is Ngusa. So my topic is like this one. Before I go to the detailed topic of today, I want to tell you about my research area. My research area is about finance. This is a basic topic. Under the triggering financial activities, there are two topics. One is microfinance. The second is mobile banking. So today I will focus on the second article. So the title, as I told you, is a financial sector, finance industry. The subject matter is two. One is a default for loan repayment. The second one is the continuous intention to use mobile banking, because these topics are very problem in developing countries. Then my unit analysis is customer of both the microfinance as well as the mobile banking users. So why I choose this one? Why I select this topic? Because this topic is very critical to developing countries. Maybe it's not working in all overall the world, but in developing countries is a crucial problem in like my country, my region, and the whole developing countries, because the majority of the population living in rural area with low income are suffering in those services. Microfinance institutions are still challenged by default not to repay back in those countries. In general, finance institutions in developing countries are not tech friendly yet. So that's why I want to look this area. And the final one, what's the uniqueness of this topic when we consider finance? The study in microfinance is still given less attention so far, especially when combined the psychological, because my research is behavioral research, not purely technical. It's depend on behavior of the users. So using text message is not still exploited as we want, as we wish. The continuing desire is not applicable yet. So financial inclusion is critical, not only for developing countries, but also in the global. Mobile banking is still back behind the expected in developing countries. That's why I want to focus on this area. So there are two problems I want to focus. One is the loan repayment problem or default. The second one is lack of active users. So these are my research questions. And this is my framework for the study. This is my map, how to study. But I want to go to this one. My focus of today is the second one. This is continence internship. Because many people in developing countries, after they tried to use mobile application in financial payment, they didn't continue. They interrupt. Then why? Why this is happened? This is the issue. So I will come back to this one. After the flourishment of mobile banking, like M-Pesa, mobile banking is perceived as important for transparency, for accountability, as well as for financial access in developing countries. But it's not the same all over the developing countries. In some countries, like Kenya, it is flourished and well developed. But in other countries, it's not like that. So I want to see the gap. Why this is happening? Why the gap is coming? Why the gap is prevailed? So based on this, I want to, I took five constructs. I used two theories. One is construct level theory. The other one is performance ambiguity theory. These are the basis for my research, because construct level theory is about mindset, about behavior. This theory is influenced to people to make the decision, depends on whether it's concrete or abstract. The other one, ambiguity. In technology, there is paradox, technological paradox. There are conflicting emotions during the use of this paradox. Some party is positive, there is advantage, benefit from technology, but in the other aspects also, there is a fear, there is a difficulty, there is performance ambiguity. Performance ambiguity is, as I told you, it is difficulty on evaluation, how to use and select the technology. In construct level theory, there are different dimensions, but I took only 3 dimensions. Those are related to my topic. One is temporal, time. The other one is spatial, the distance, physical distance. The third one is experiential, that is owned by any user. So I use these 3 dimensions. Then this is the whole what is technology performance ambiguity, as I told you earlier. This is my model based on the theories I established. I formulate this as you see. There are 6 here constructs. Then I link the construct level theory with performance ambiguity to check whether the user is continuing the use of mobile banking or not. Then I established 5 hypotheses on that. Therefore, based on this, these are the constructs and the items, measurement items that I used in my research. In my research, my survey design and data collection, as I told you, is online survey. I collect from 385 respondents. I use 340. Then this is the profile. I don't want to go detailed because most of them are men and most of them are graduate respondents. Their age is between 35 and 54. The results, as they show here, is there are, they showed the discriminancy validity, cross-loading is perfectly met the standard, and the internal consistency, chrome batch, composite reliability, and average extract is met well. So the internal consistency, the measurement analysis will meet the requirements. Here, the kernel criterion is met, and the HTMAT is met. Therefore, based on this result, our model says the following results. Then I want to tell you, based on the analysis, the time reduction is more important to reduce ambiguity. When you use the mobile banking, you get great time reduction. Then when you get time reduction, the ambiguity is reduced. So this is the relation is negative relationship and very significant. The other one, experiential, also the same. When any user has good experience, skill, knowledge, and can use mobile banking, then the ambiguity is also reduced. The third one is unexpectedly is not as I hypothesized before, because the spatial is different, has got different result. So why is that? I have checked this one also. It is because this kind of problem is occurred because the rural and the suburban residents has high ambiguity. Therefore, this is different. The structural analysis also the same. Then the conclusion I have is I have used these constructors. Then the relation between the construct level, those three factors are worked well. Then the policymakers and practitioners, they consider this time reduction, exponential distance, and the other issues are very important to elevate performance ambiguity. So they need policy and policy intervention. Therefore, they must look on those areas. Thank you very much.
Now, let's invite our next speaker, Mr. Mohamed Saled Ubarkut, software engineer at Yemen Telecom, currently a PhD candidate at SNU, with his topic, Infrastructure as Code Potentials to Bring in Complaint Gap and Mitigating Technical Debt. Let's welcome him with a big round of applause, please.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I'll bring this back. Oops. Yeah, please. Thank you. So today I would like to discuss one of the issues that we face in the when it comes to successful digital transformation and sustainable infrastructure automation. So among the challenges that we face nowadays is the compliance gap and the issue of technical debt. And when you think about technical debt is like a compromise it in the code or in the configurations or in the service in exchange for quality, because you need something to deliver faster. And you have a pressure from market and other issues. And I would like to point out how can we leverage the concept of infrastructure as code, which is a compliance by design. So this is purely a little bit software engineering perspective, but its impact can also cross the compliance, legal, and also the policy issue. So these are the key topics I'm trying to address today. So I will discuss what some of the key definitions and what is exactly the problem that we are facing, and how can we leverage the infrastructure as code to address these issues, because this is like one of the research projects we're currently working on in our research lab. So, and then I will deliver some conclusion and practical implications for practitioners. So, a successful digital transformation starts with infrastructure automation. That's what many studies have been reported. And one of the, when it comes to infrastructure automation and resilient and sustainable digital transformation, IT systems are critical to business success if they're not the core of the business. So in that sense, downtimes should not be tolerated. And as many studies reported that most of the downtimes and issues are resulted because of the human errors. It's like over 50%. So probably like less human involvement would be preferable so that we can avoid these too much downtimes and in the provisioning of IT resources. And also we need to have some a mechanism in case of failure so that we can have a faster recovery of the services and reproducibility of the same infrastructure and the same services at a button click instead of having going through the whole process manually again. So this need led to emergence of the concept of infrastructure as code, which as an approach of infrastructure automation. And Gartner predicts that there will be like over 70% of organizations that will adapt the infrastructure as code and infrastructure automation by 2025. So what's the problem exactly we're facing now? When it comes to software engineering and also business services and information systems, the evolution of software is a big issue because the software itself have to respond to real world changes. So as a result, it has to evolve and adapt to these changes. And one of the, also another issue we're facing in the software industry is the crowdsourcing and the control of software supply chain, because now we have tons of components which we don't know about and they're just deployed over the internet, and we hire autonomous teams or distributed and they use components we don't know about. So we just have a service up and running, but technical intricacies we are hidden from us. Another challenge is also the gap between IT and law. And here it comes the challenge of misinterpretation of vocabularies and also the use of different assumptions by different stakeholders. And apart from that, we have also diverse compliance sources. It's like regulation. We have also corporate policies. We have industry-specific standards we have to comply with. And these are also creates widening the gap between the compliance expert and legal experts and all those software engineers from the other side. And finally, all this is pulled from the volatile environment because business is highly volatile and they have to respond to timely to changes in a timely manner. A specific problem I want to tackle today is the concept of technical debt. And what do we mean by technical debt is the compromises that are being made in the configuration or in the code in exchange of quality. So think about it as sort of like financial debts or monetary debts, something that you need to repay in the future if you didn't fix now. So the issue in the software industry nowadays is over 25%. Oops. Can you go back? Yeah, over 25% of efforts in time goes in the refactoring. It means engineer the produced code and the service that you want, but due to time pressures and some challenges related to insufficient requirement elicitation or lack of knowledge or poor estimation, there is happened to be like service is just delivered, but it's not up to like in line with the best practices and corporate policy. So you end up with service up and running, but in the back end, when you see the configuration and the code is just like we call spaghetti code. I mean, everything is functional, but in a sense that when engineers come later on to build on top of that, it becomes really complicated. And one of the challenges that we are facing in the software industry is the turnover rate. Over 40%. This is a study conducted by DigitalOcean. Engineers or software engineers are likely to move or to leave their jobs and move to another way for some reasons like work-life balance or better opportunity or more flexible work. So this percentage is very huge and it can cause turbulence. I mean, imagine if your service is built on top of, let's say, workarounds and everything works, but inside is chaos. So this is a big issue when you hire a new engineer now to develop on the top of your service. So in that sense, this is the term is coined by Ward Cunningham. He called it technical debt, because these small debts in the short run, you don't see them. I mean, there's a time pressure from management and the need to deliver the service faster, but small debts accumulate in the long run. And if you didn't pay them in the short run, it becomes very huge and the cost of refactoring becomes more complicated. So in that regard, what Cunningham said, every minute spent on not quite right code is considered as debt or interest on debt or technical debt. So if you see in the figure here, the starting point of the project is things are okay, but when you move faster and you didn't refactor the code as it's supposed to be, things will start diverge, and recovering or making changes to bring back the code or the configuration in their normal track costs a lot in that case. So in this research project, we tried to leverage infrastructure as code and study to what extent it can enhance the compliance and also bridge this gap and address the technical debt. Because a key issue here, we have DevOps engineers. They could be distributed, they could be autonomous, they could be hired temporarily for the project, and then we just finish the project. So we need to have something which is sustainable and resilient for the future. So in this regard, we following the principles of design science research, we adopted this approach, which is a set of processes and components. So the artifact starts with the stakeholders, the concerned, is the compliance officer. We have the IT managers and software architects. You can add them also legal experts. So these need to collaborate in designing the blueprint. We call the software blueprint, either the following the well-architected framework, so that the developers can build on top of something that's already pre-set up and fully compliant with policy. So this is the basic concept. So the process starts with designing the infrastructure blueprint. And once the infrastructure blueprint is validated against whichever provisioning environment, it could be like cloud services like Amazon or OpenStack local. And then it's stored into the repository. Storing this into the repository, then the developers and engineers, they can leverage this infrastructure blueprint and they can build on top of that. This to some extent can control technical debt at infrastructure and configuration level. But at the code level, still there should be maybe some space for working around. And finally, we have the auditing, which performs a regular checking so that whenever there's a diversion or drifts from the infrastructure and the deployed in the provisioning one, so it reports to the concerned stakeholders. So for evaluating and implementation, the proposed approach, so basically as per the principles of design science, we conducted or followed two ways of evaluating this. The first way is to implement and to check the feasibility and usability of the artifact. And the second way is to evaluate the utility in the real world scenario. And for implementation of the infrastructure blueprint, initially you want to use Tosca as a blueprint for infrastructure specification and orchestration. But then we opted for Terraform, which is domain-specific infrastructure as code language. And after that, we used ImmuDB as an immutable storage for implementing the storage of the software blueprint. And after that, for the provisioning, we use Amazon Web Services so that the developers can use this blueprint to develop on top of AWS services. For reporting, we use the cron jobs, which is an automated scheduler for checking the blueprint against the pre-set up infrastructure blueprint. So these are screenshots. So basically we used a simple topology of a software in which like a DNS configuration with the load balancer and two redundant virtual machines with a database and also block storage, and generated the infrastructure as code with them, and we stored in the ImmuDB, and we validated using AWS services. And as we said, like the second step of evaluation is the focus group. We implemented recruited focus group so that we can get their view of these experts on how this can be useful in the real world businesses. So the participants see that the infrastructure can, the approach can address infrastructure debts and documentation debt and environmental debt and versioning debt to a great extent. And others like requirement debt and security debt can also be addressed using the proposed approach. So there are some limitations when it comes to this proposed approach, as the focus group of experts that raised. Among these is the issues related to business suitability. So does this suit the startup companies because their high rate of turnover of engineers, or the big businesses because they have very stable So this diversion creates some issue with validating this. But in summary, we can say that infrastructure automation can be a critical to addressing challenges for autonomous development and distributed teams so that we can have sustainable and resilient evolution of our software services. So this approach emphasizes the concept of compliance by design. Nowadays, we have a rising concept we call like policy as code. So we need to codify a policy in a way that it can be executed directly. We don't have to give it as instructions. So straight directly to the code so it can be enforced at the software level. And finally, the proposed approach is viewed by the focus group experts that it will be valuable for addressing these kinds of technical debt, though it lacks some more detailed level because at some extent it can control for the infrastructure setup and the configuration setup and also components. But on top of that, there's some still space for working around, but there's some improvement on this and it can take place in the next iteration of the services. Thank you very much.
Now, our next speaker, Ms. Ilhan Ayed Wassa, Head of Partnership at the National Institute of Post and Telecommunications in Morocco. Currently a PhD candidate at KAIST with her topic, an empirical study of impact of e-commerce on exports performance, evidence from US panel data. Let's welcome her with a big round of applause.
Thank you, Ronnie. Good morning, everyone, or should I say, 안녕하세요, 여러분. So my topic is, as mentioned, is about an empirical study on the impact of e-commerce and export performance. It is split in two parts, but I will be presenting the first part today, which is the impact of e-commerce capability and CU attributes on export performance. The second study is supposed to deal with the industrial level, but this one is more focused towards firm level factors. So let me just see if this is, okay, good. So this is my content. I will share the motivation for choosing such topic. Then I will go through my theoretical background and some key facts. Also show the data strategy or the empirical setting, and also share with you my results or preliminary results, if I may say, and mention the implications and the limitations of this work. So the first part is, this session is about green and sustainable development and digital transformation. So I took the liberty to look at the bigger picture, which is the trade in the digital era or the fourth industrial revolution times. And what is striking about the shifts that are happening in the multilateral level or the international trade spectrum is there is a rapid transformation according to OECD that is changing the scale, the scope, and the speed of trade, especially in terms of global value chains. And this was in 2017, which didn't include the pandemic changes and shifts. Also, we can say that the structure of trade has changed. Carlos earlier mentioned the servitizations of products, but I will add that now the companies are also bundling their products and services as what we call smart products, that you can find a product, but with this product, you can find an app that goes with it. So these servitizations could also be in this new realm of bundling smart products. Complexity is also an issue, which is a contrast with the rise of technologies and the speed of acceleration of the internet taking over every process and every business process, if I may say. But it became easy to engage in trade, especially for SMEs. But we can say also that adoption of new business models can be hard, especially for companies, for instance, that are mainly new to engage in trade or also had traditional ways in doing trade. So this complexity is adding to the shifts that happening in the trade spectrum. The rise of a new term, trade tech or trade technologies, which is an intersection between international trade and digital technologies. And this is more inclusive than fintech because this goes in all spectrums, and also this term includes finances for trade. And of course, the pandemic has accelerated everything, and the sophistication of trade has also evolved. I have to mention the definitions. Normally, I wouldn't bore you with definitions, but this is very important because the first time we talked about e-commerce in the international trade world is by the WTO in the Declaration of 1998. So basically, this definition was classic, and it says whatever is sold through the internet, the telecommunication networks. But the UNCTAD corrected or shifted this definition to call it's cross-border e-commerce, because e-commerce is more towards domestic use, but cross-border e-commerce, it goes beyond borders, so it's become cross-border e-commerce. OECD in 2017 made it even more obvious because of the rise of new technologies. They asked to say it's digital trade, or at least it's digitally enabled transactions that could be physically delivered. So anything that is physical but goes through digital mediums or helped by technology could be called digital trade. But I more stand with this guy. It's the head of the ICC, or the Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce, who said that in the future we will drop the E. There will be no more e-trade, digital trade, or e-commerce. It will be just international trade, and technology is a part of it. So basically, he said, let's not waste time being like, or achieve. So let's capitalize or consolidate what the pandemic brought and go back to the future. E-commerce is present across all SDGs. I will not list them, but any goal, you will find a section mentioning the importance and how it's easy for vulnerable populations to access jobs creation or other creating values through e-commerce. So if I go back to my theoretical setting, I will say that we say that trade has become digitally enabled, and also the use or the growth of technology, information technology, had scaled it up and made it the global reach easier for companies. And one of the key technologies is e-commerce, and focusing on e-commerce is not a simple task, because earlier I heard about IT paradox named GECE, and I loved how Mohammed and Endang are looking for solutions to find optimized ways to do logistics, or optimized ways to find cutting cost of these technology burdens. So scholars in e-commerce as well are puzzled because they don't know why it is sometimes positive in the outcome or the impact, but some other times it's negative and it's burdening the companies, especially they call it cost, logistic, congestion, and even IT paradox, as Neguseshi mentioned. So according to several studies, ICT alone as a research does not guarantee positive results. And the major theory that was used in the recent or relatively few empirical studies on e-commerce are resource-based view. And this theory looked at everything in the company as a resource or a capability. But we argue that this theory alone does not explain, how these technologies impact technically the organizational outcomes and how it impacts the business decisions. So we borrowed from another school of studies, which is the corporate governance, and we brought this theory, which is called the upper echelon theory. So we brought the leadership of the company to the equation. So we are saying that the UAT, or the upper echelon theory, is everything about the skills and the traits of the CEOs, of the teams that are managing the companies, because we think that these people are also important. So we build on the results-based view, and we draw from the UAT, or the upper echelon theory, and we say that the CEO characteristics and individual or managerial influence this relationship between the use of e-commerce, or the e-commerce capability, and the export behavior, rather than relying solely or only on the e-commerce capability. So to argue further, so we say that e-commerce capability has a direct effect on exporting behavior, and we explore it empirically, but we also want to see the likelihood of exporting for the firms owning these capabilities interacting with the CEO attributes. So why we choose the US companies, I wrote a lot, but I prefer figures. So basically, these are the S&P 500, which are the best performance companies in the US. And we looked at their export reports for the last 10 years, and we draw this very simple chart. And we look at like a trend in a decline in exporting. And even Goldman Sachs here like called out these S&P 500s, and they called them at a 10-year low in terms of performance. So also why the US CEOs, because I'm sure many of you recognize these faces. So according to literature, this US CEOs, the American CEOs, are the most powerful in the world. And there are several studies that support that. And the most important one is the last one that I mentioned here. And it's a huge study from 1968 to this date, and a huge longitudinal study on the threats of American CEOs and how they influence every like strategic decision in a company. And when it comes to trade or exporting or like market entry, they say that the American CEOs with high legitimacy and international entrepreneur describe like they prefer full control over market entry. So since they prefer all control over market entry, it might influence the use of e-commerce for exporting, right? So these are one of the why we choose the American companies. In terms of data collection, this is our strategy. We use the Wharton or Words database, and we have a lot of different dependent variables, two dependent variables and several independent variables. And we control for two things. We control for firm level factors and also for CEO level factors. So in order to use or extract e-commerce data, that was the difficult task, because accessing annual reports of these companies is easy. Financial information, everything, sales, investment, everything you can find on this database, but not strategic information, sales, like the use of e-commerce or the exporting details or entry modes. You can only find the number, and the number of exporting is on another database, which is called CompuStat segment. But for e-commerce capability, we had to do text mining. So we looked at the Edgar 10K filings for the last 20 years, since 2000 to 2020. And what we did here is, so basically we created a library of how e-commerce is mentioned in these reports. And we processed this information, and we created two separate sets of keywords, or like lexicon, if I may say. So we tested for cross-border e-commerce, and we tested for e-commerce keywords. The ones that we got a lot of hits, or like the presence of these citations, was this set of terms. So we didn't find any hits on this one. So we stuck with a list of keywords that we used for the remaining reports that we studied. And we applied a Python script, and by analyzing the output, because the fear was, what if it is mentioned, the e-commerce was mentioned out of context, like it's not to export or to sales. but it's more like our competition uses e-commerce. This is not a capability of the company, but it's a mention. So we had to analyze the output before concluding with the final data set, which is a dichotomous variable. It's yes, we use e-commerce. No, we don't use e-commerce. It's a 0-1. So yeah, for the CEO, we use the XVComp. It's always in this Words database. It's available if you have access to such database. And for control variables, we use several. So we had to use all of these because any of these could influence exports. So we needed to control for them. As for the controls for CEO is the duality, because there is a bunch of literature that says that if the CEO also sits in the board, is even more powerful. So we needed to see if it's this fact that he's sitting on the board makes him more powerful or no, and it's like a dichotomous 1 or 0. And also we used managerial capacity or capability, which is a public database. It's on managerial competency. So this is our sample. We used S&P 500, these two segments. It's consumer discretionary staples because they use more e-commerce. And we used as a methodology difference in difference with two-way fixed effect. So to conclude very fast, these are just empirical models. I already explained what's in them. And our results are a little bit overwhelming because I was happy to see the interaction between e-commerce and CEO, this is seniority, is positive and significant. The interaction, between CEO overconfidence and e-commerce is also positive and significant. And the interaction between female CEOs and e-commerce is negative and significant. As the overall impact of this interaction on exporting is also positive and significant. And this is the Q. We measured the Tobin skew of the company to see how it impacted the market value of the firm. So this concludes my research, and the implications are for several targets, which is the scholars, the companies, and the policy. And we look forward to develop it further as it is an ongoing process. So thank you.